What's up, y'all? MMA Cannibal. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm here to go over UFC 303, my breakdown, my reactions to the fights. Let's just get straight into it. Starting off, we have the main event, Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka, the rematch. Alex Pereira head kick KOs him right at the beginning of the second round after dropping him with a left hook at the end of the first. This guy's too good. Alex Pereira is just too good for these light heavyweights. After this performance, I feel like he just mauls Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed can't if Magomed doesn't go laser focused on getting takedowns and getting control and winning rounds based off that, I feel like he's going to make a mistake on the feet probably sooner than later and get knocked out. Alex just has this touch of death that these light heavyweights can't handle, and he's just way too good. He makes these reads and he sees these things that they don't even think are tells. And he can read them and sees them and capitalizes perfectly. And it's not like, an Anthony Smith where when he can make a read and capitalize on it, it's like, oh, that was nice little counter. No, his counters put you away. They put you out in one hit. So, massive respects to Alex Pereira. Let's make that Ankalaev fight just to shut anyone up who has doubts. You could make the Aspinall fight. I won't hate on it. But, I think Aspinall needs to do his thing for a little bit. I want Pereira to get the Magomed fight. And if he beats a Magomed, which I think he will, then I'm really want to see him at heavyweight. But let's have him do this before he goes up. In terms of Yuri Prochazka, I thought he was going to have a little bit more to offer him. I took him by a knockout in this. I thought the short notice was going to help with his unpredictability. I thought, maybe he would have improved a little bit, have a little bit of a better idea of what to deal with when he's in this cage with Alex Pereira. It was basically the complete opposite. Alex was the one making improvements. Alex was completely ready for anything Yuri had. The unpredictability of Yuri seemed like it was completely nullified in the rematch, probably from, Alex preparing for him and fighting against him that first time. He knew what to expect. He knew what his little ticks and his quirks were. And he read him like a book. It was crazy. Very sad to see Yuri go out that way. I like Yuri a lot. Seeing him get back up from that KO was brutal to watch. Hopefully he can go back to the drawing board, improve his striking defense, improve some of his grappling offensively, I think is what he needs to do. And, come back and put on another good performance. Probably fight somebody like a Jan Blachowicz or a Jamal Hill. Alex only has maybe another year or two left in this sport probably. So if Yuri just stays a little patient and hangs around, he can probably win that belt back. But, props to Alex Pereira, props to Yuri. Both these guys stepping up on short notice. Thank you for saving this card and giving us a good main event. Alex Pereira, too good. Dan Ige stepping in on 2 hours notice against Diego Lopez. Not the greatest performance from either guy. What could you expect? I see a lot of people trashing, Diego Lopez online, saying Ige exposed him in the third round, saying, he gassed out, he got fraud checked. Movsar Evloev is going off on Twitter right now saying a bunch of stupid stuff. I feel like you can't really criticize either of these guys' performance all too much, given all the surround. Obviously, you can criticize them, but you have to keep in mind the entire context of how this fight specifically came to, and what led Lopez to looking the way he did. It looked like a featherweight fighting a welterweight. That was the size. I get Lopez fought at 161 pounds and Ige was at 164. But it's the difference between a guy who's rehydrating to 161 versus a guy who's just at 164, just walking around. Ige had zero weight cut. I get he had 2 hours notice, but zero weight cut. And he was already in a training camp for another fight later on down the road. Meant he had a lot of really good things in his favor going into this fight. He had almost perfect circumstances given the condition he was entering this fight on. And Diego Lopez had almost the absolute worst. The fact that he cut all the way to featherweight, then he had to come up to lightweight just before, and then, just before the fight, had to re-weigh in again and fight an opponent at an even higher weight. The fact that Lopez was able to bank those first 2 rounds was really the only way he was going to win this fight. I'm pretty sure Ige's never been finished in his career, and I wouldn't expect him coming in with 0 weight cut to be any easier to finish. So, all respects to Lopez, all respects to Ige. Absolute monsters stepping in like that, staying in like that, and not changing. Lopez said he could have, turned down and still gotten his pay and whatnot. No, he stuck in, gave us, I'll say a show. All in all, the fight did kind of end up being lackluster, but neither of these guys really had the gas tank we would have wanted or hoped for, or the preparation. So, given everything that occurred, I'm happy we got the fight, and I'm happy it went the way that it did. Good for Lopez. I'm not going to count this fight towards any of my picks. I think it just goes even because I picked Ortega, but come on, guys. Unless you picked Lopez, unless you stuck with Lopez through every single time, I feel like there's not really any way you can give yourself this pick. Featured fight, Anthony Smith, Roman Dolidze. I am kicking myself for not changing my pick to Roman Dolidze. Anthony Smith looked awful on the scale. He looked like he had a terrible weight cut, and that's exactly what it looked like in the ring. It looked like he had no gas tank. It looked like he was drained. It looked like he couldn't think properly. And Roman Dolidze just kind of schooled him on the feet, which I couldn't believe because Roman's not a good striker. Not that Smith is great, but he's not bad. Roman I've never thought of as a good striker. But I guess, when you look at that theory of all lower weight classes are more technical because higher weight classes have more power that they can rely on. I mean, a fight like this just kind of exemplifies that to its fullest extent because Roman is not a good striker in the middleweight division. He's losing to Vettori by decision. He's losing to, I actually kind of rate Imavov, but he's losing to Imavov by decision. He's kind of fluking-ish his victory over Jack Hermanson that got him into the rankings in the first place. So, overall, I am surprised that Roman Dolidze won this fight the way he did. I'm not surprised he won, given how good he looked on the scale versus how Anthony Smith looked. But to outstrike him like that really amazes me. And if I recall correctly, the broadcast was saying this makes him 3-0 at light heavyweight in the UFC specifically, which astounded me to hear because, one, I don't remember that. I don't remember any of his other light heavyweight fights. But two, why the hell is he fighting at middleweight? Go up to light heavyweight, dude. You're being an idiot fighting at middleweight. Go up to light heavyweight. If you can beat Anthony Smith on the feet the way you did here on short notice at light heavyweight, imagine what you can do to them with your grappling ability, because that's where he's actually supposed to be good. So, yeah, Roman Dolidze, move to light heavyweight. What the hell are you doing at middleweight? Anthony Smith, I don't know, man. Find another Vitor Petrino that you can just take advantage of his stupidity and inexperience. That's really all I can say for you, man. It's either that or retire. You're so old and you have such an insane record. I don't know what you're still trying to prove unless you just need the money. In which case, I feel bad for you. I really do. But, yeah. Wish I'd changed my pick. It is what it is. We live with it. Bueno Silva, Chiasson. Not too bad of a fight. In hindsight, I'm not too upset with how it was on the main card. That gash that Bueno Silva had open up on her forehead was absolutely massive. I agree with the doctor's stoppage. As much as it does upset me, and I think it's anticlimactic, I feel like that's just kind of the nature of a doctor's stoppage. Props to Chiasson for landing that elbow. Wouldn't have happened without her. Felt like Bueno Silva won that first round, and that second round was going kind of 50-50, possibly leaning towards Chiasson. And given Silva's gas tank problems in the past, it wasn't, looking that great if it had gone to a decision. I took Silva by a submission, Didn't get it. My pick didn't go. I wish Chasson didn't win just because I think she's so boring. She's so lame. I don't want her anywhere near the top of the division because anybody at the top of that, like Pennington will probably just, finish her again like she's already done to Chasson. So I don't know. I either skip over Macy, give Kayla Harrison the title shot, and then do whatever you want after that, or make Chasson and Harrison fight each other for a number one contender, and then we can just get Macy out of there before she even gets in the first place. That's kind of what I hope for. I hope Bueno Silva can have a nice bounce back after this. I don't know against who. I just hope she does because inside and outside of the cage, I think she's one of the most entertaining women's bantamweight fighters, which very low bar, does not say a lot, but God, do we need something, anything in this division. So I will take whatever I can get from her. Moving down, Ian Gary, Michael Page. I got this. I didn't think this fight was going to go the way that it did. I got my pick right. I did pick Ian Gary by decision. I didn't think he was going to grapple as much as he was. I thought he was going to, match MVP on the feet. So, in hindsight, on that regard, I see why a lot of people were taking MVP to win. Because Ian was just terrified to engage with him on the feet. He wanted absolutely no part of it. And whether that was because he was just scared or because he's worse or both, MVP just absolutely styled on him on the feet. And it was pretty insane to watch in that second round, the way he just kind of dismantled him. That being said, he still pulled through, got the decision in that third round. It was pretty 50-50 third round. I don't really feel like it's like easy Gary W, but UFC judges, obviously, they're going to give it to the younger guy that the UFC wants to push. So I still, like, even though I'm not as surprised in hindsight as to why so many people were taking MVP to win, I still think most of them were doing it because they don't like Ian Gary. I feel like Ian Gary's plot armor is really difficult to ignore. Why the hell did they give this guy purple shorts? Why? Why did they give him custom shorts? He's never once said anything about it. He hasn't done anything to earn it. Like, MVP is a better candidate for custom shorts because he has a better personality, better fan base, a more storied career. Why? Brendan Allen's been begging for purple shorts for years, and they don't give it to him. But Gary just gets them because why? Just because they felt like it? I'm so upset because I love the color purple. And look, I wouldn't have been like ecstatic if Brendan Allen got them. But why did you have to give them to a fighter people don't like? It's so upsetting to me. I'm more upset about that than anything else on the card, really. That being said, though, I mean, at least I got my pick right. I also do want to say, people are probably going to hate on me for this one. If you're going to give Khamzat Chimaev a 10-8 in that first round against Usman, Ian Gary deserves a 10-8 in that first round against MVP. I know people don't want to hear it. People are going to be upset about that. He deserves it. It's just as much. It's the same situation. The only difference is Chimaev has that V in his name to make you think, ooh, that Russian wrestling. It's so dangerous. It's so scary. Gary was just as aggressive about it. His submission attempts got even closer. He rode the back. I mean, I don't know what more you want. He did exactly what Chimaev did, essentially. So, I have to just bring that up because I didn't see a single person saying Gary should got a 10-8 for that. And I don't think a single judge gave him a 10-8 for that round. And I just want to call out the inconsistency of it. I just want to call it out. I don't like Ian Gary. I didn't want him to win this fight. I'm upset he has purple shorts. But, if we're just talking about consistency here. He should get a 10-8 round for that first round, the way Chimaev got in a fight against Usman. That's all I got to say. Moving down, Joe Pyfer committed a murder against Andre Barrial. That was a crazy knockout. Definitely one of the highlights of the night. I had picked him by a decision. I thought he was going to be a little more hesitant, a little more patient after that Hermanson one. I will agree he was a bit more patient, looking for the shot and picking his shots very well. However, he did not hesitate Once he saw his shot, he took it, and he nailed it. Pereira, I don't think threw a single strike in the fight. So, yeah, it was pretty much just as much of a KO on a silver platter as everyone else was making it out to be. I tried to be a little different. Whatever. I still picked Joe, and Joe won. I don't know what else you do with him. I can't, like, after this win, it's kind of like, what, like, cool. Nothing really that new to see. I guess just give him another opponent that's somewhere in between the Hermanson and Barriute level and see how he does, you know. He's going to need to get a few more victories that are just something more than this kind of quick knockout against a punching bag for me to have any faith in Joe being anything again, honestly. Because I never really thought highly of Hermanson. So losing to him the way that he lost makes me very highly question Piper's future. Moving down, Cub Swanson, Andre Fili. I picked Cub Swanson by a second, third round TKO. He got kind of close to getting it a couple times. I kind of thought Cub should have gotten this decision. I see why Fili got it, though. A lot of the stuff he was doing kind of looked better to the judges, getting that little bit of control with the clinch and whatnot. This was the most like back and forth fight of the night, I would say. Other than MVP and Gary, which I honestly, like, for as much as that first round sucked, I feel like that was a better fight of the night candidate than Swanson Fili. I don't really know why this fight got it. Fili came through with a lot of clinching, which was honestly just super disappointing. Really slowed the fight down, made it a lot more boring than I thought it was going to be. But Fili did what he had to do, walked away with the W, made me get my pick wrong. Good for him. You know, I like Andre Fili, so I'm not too upset. You know, I like both these guys. It is what it is. Fili's younger. He could probably use the money a little bit more anyways. Moving down, Charles Jourdain. I picked him by a decision over Gene Silva. This is another one that I'm kind of kicking myself in hindsight for not changing my pick. Gene Silva missed weight. I was like, oh, it was only a pound and a half, you know, not a big weight miss. A weight miss is a weight miss. It makes a difference. We have weight classes and weight cuts for a reason. And, you know, it really looked like Charles Jourdain was trying to, like, put some real pressure and apply some real hard shots to him at the beginning. And Gene Silva was just kind of in front of him, just, like, watching him throw these strikes and weaving and bobbing out of the way of him like it was nothing. And then high-fiving him like, man, dude, you're really, like, going for it right now. Cool. And that was super entertaining to watch. But I was definitely kind of like, okay, Silva, like, do something. And then, like, right in the later ends of round one, it was like he just flicked a switch and decided, okay, now I'm going to start, like, being offensive. As soon as he started being offensive, the tide completely flipped. His power difference to Charles Jourdain was night and day. It clearly started worrying Charles Jourdain a lot, who just started backing up a lot as Silva was just pressuring him like crazy, and eventually led to the knockout. I mean, it really was, as soon as Silva flicked that switch, it felt like the knockout was inevitable, and it came and happened. And, you know, big props to Silva. Looking forward to that whole Fighting Nerds team out there in Brazil. It's cool when you see a whole camp kind of start to rise at once, and you see a lot of people, multiple people from multiple weight classes from the same camp all kind of start doing well simultaneously and with pretty exciting styles. I mean, the other people coming from this camp like Cal Barajo and Mauricio Ruffy, you know, not too bad. I will always take more Brazilian fighters that fight like this. Always super entertaining. So, you know, in the future, I'm definitely going to be giving more credence to Silva's power and maybe less to Charles Jourdain, because I don't really know where Charles goes from this. I feel like he just keeps floating right around at that, you know, higher end of unranked people. Maybe, I don't really know what you do with him. I guess he just kind of chills out there for a bit. Gene Silva, I don't know if you quite give him a ranked opponent yet, but somebody literally like just outside the rankings, like a number 17, number 16 type guy. I feel like that's where he goes from this. And yeah, definitely definitely a highlight of the card for me. Peyton Talbot, Giannis Gamori, another highlight. I thought it was going to take Talbot a little bit longer than this, like 1 minute, but just absolutely starches the can of Giannis Gamori. I mean, this is crazy. Did exactly what he needed to do, honestly, though. Giannis, I mean, this is the type of fight where if Giannis had any success against him, people would have been calling fraud check and doubting Peyton heavily. So this is exactly what Talbot needed to do. Did look really cool doing it, and yeah, I mean, it was really what I expected. I can't say like I'm not surprised at all, other than just how quickly it happened. I still thought it was going to be the first round, but I didn't think it'd be 20 seconds. I didn't think it'd be the first punch. Just cool to see. I'm really excited for Peyton Talbot's future. He called out Adrian Yanez. Please make that fight as quickly as humanly possible, because I absolutely love that fight. Yanez was responding on Twitter. Looked like he was into the idea of the fight too. So let's do it. UFC, come on. Let's do it ASAP. The Sphere is what they were asking for. Let's do it. I don't care. Let's do it in the Sphere. Let's get it going. And yeah, not much else to say about that. Jillian Robertson did pretty much exactly what I expected her to do to Michelle Waterson. I did think she was going to get the submission. I took her by submission. She got close a few times, but it's just really hard to submit somebody who is doing nothing but trying to not get submitted. You'd really be surprised. Somebody could have like some of the worst ground game you've ever seen, but just so long as they put 100% of their focus into not getting finished, they will not get finished. It's really impressive and surprising how consistent that rule is. And, Michelle just proved it again. She didn't really have... obviously was better than Jillian on the feet, but really had no opportunities to show it off. Jillian, living up to that Savage nickname, was just some of the most brutal ground and pound I've ever seen, especially for a women's fighter. The elbows were crazy. The punches were crazy. The way she would just put her entire flat palm, straight arm right onto Michelle's face and just kind of like grind it with her flat palm. I was like, dude, this is awful. At a certain point, I really thought Michelle should just give up the submission, because what are you fighting for at this point? I mean, even if she wanted to like kind of be there for her retirement that they knew was going to happen afterwards, getting submitted is like, let your opponent get the RNC and then tap out. And then you're perfectly conscious and there and uninjured for your freaking retirement speech. It's not like she had to risk the knockout. She could have just let her get the RNC that she got close to a few times. I really don't know. I guess she got the moral victory there. Really seemed like a waste of everybody's time and just more damage to her face and head. I don't get it, especially as your retirement fight. It's like, you're clearly going to lose anyways. You don't have a shot. Just let her do it. I don't get it. But, the best Jillian Robertson we've ever seen. She keeps having performances that was exactly what I needed her to do to somebody against like a Michelle Waterson. So she keeps having performances like this. She can go very far in this division. Usually the women's divisions are either, kind of a grappling specialist or a striking specialist. And the strawweight division right now is full of a lot of good strikers. So obviously she has to shore up her defense there in that regard. But if she can keep imposing her grappling will on these people like that, I mean, we might be looking at a future champ, possibly. I won't doubt it quite yet. So good on Jillian Robertson. I'll take it as a pick because honestly, I feel like any women's fight, you either automatically, I usually take them as a decision out of reflex. So I'll count it. Whatever. I did pick Jillian. Andre versus Boudet. I don't have much to say about this fight. I just feel like Boudet is just awful. Has no future in this sport whatsoever. Why he's in the UFC, I don't know. And this goes to like 90% of these other heavyweight rosters. Like literally everybody except for like the top 7 at heavyweight and Derek Lewis. I'm like, get out. We can just cut them all. I really don't care. I genuinely don't care. I could literally see the same top 7 heavyweights plus Derek Lewis fight each other just in a round robins over and over and over again for years and years. And it would be so infinitely more entertaining than anything that these low level heavyweights can offer us. Andrei Arlovski should have gotten this decision. Not because I think it was a robbery. This fight was so boring and close and inactive. I don't care. You could give it to either guy. I think it makes sense. I just think you should have given it to Andre because, one, I want to see Andre get wins. I actually kind of like him. He has some sort of background and history in this sport that makes him interesting. Unlike Boudet, who has no personality, not an interesting fight style, not an interesting look. I mean, nothing. He's got nothing. He's 32 years old, and all he's doing with the 45-year-old Andrei Arlovski is exchanging over and over-under grips in the clinch. He started landing some knees at the halfway point of the fight, and that was about it. He couldn't box with him for shit. It was so disappointing to watch. Just so boring. And thank God the commentary team was calling them out and trashing on them publicly throughout the entire fight, because we need to just start telling these people, hey, you suck. You're boring. You're terrible. Why are you here? You don't deserve this. I don't get it. I don't get it. I genuinely, say what you will about how boring women MMA fights can be sometimes and how poor their striking technique can look, to the point where it's like, have you ever stepped foot in a boxing gym before? But at least they're cutting and making weight, so we have some sort of tangible proof that they're in the gym doing workouts. These heavyweights, I don't even believe that they're cutting weight. I believe that the ones that are weighing in the 260s and the 250s, they just happen to know exactly how many Big Macs they can eat during their training camp to not go over the 265-pound limit. And that's it. They just eat that many Big Macs and no more, no less, because God forbid they put the fork down, and then they go into the fight and then they just hug their opponent for 5 minutes, hoping that their fat and sweat grosses them out enough that their opponent will just give up. I don't know what they expect. I don't know what these guys are doing. I cannot imagine they're in the gym. If you were in the gym, you would look better than this. You would look better, physique and technique-wise. You just are awful. God. Man. God. I'm not even happy I picked Martin Boudet. I'm not even happy. I wish I picked Andre and got it wrong. God. Just awful. Just awful. God. Ray Soria, Carlos Hernandez. Was kind of disappointed by Ray Soria's performance. At the same time, I was very surprised and impressed by Carlos Hernandez's scrambling ability. Did a good job at neutralizing a lot of Ray Soria's attempts to transition and getting out of a lot of dominant positions and submission attempts. That being said, whenever Ray Soria did get these submissions attempts or these good dominant positions, even though Hernandez was able to eventually scramble his way out of them, half the time it looked like Ray wasn't even really actually trying to finish them. It looked like he was getting these positions and then wiggling around and trying to look for another position afterwards. It's like, dude, you're in reverse crucifix. You have him in a near complete twister. What are you still doing? What position are you looking for? You have arrived. Commit and sit on this opportunity. I was just expecting a lot more from Ray after Taira's performance against Carlos Hernandez and being a teammate of Tatsuro Taira. But he won. He didn't look too bad. He is making improvements. So hopefully the next fight he can come out and do a bit better, be a little more impressive. And yeah, I want to be excited for these prospects coming out of Japan. I love, and the more international that the sport can get, the more kinds of people and styles we can get into this sport, the better. The more the merrier. I'm happy to get more people in here. So all in all, it's not like I'm too upset. I didn't make an official prediction for this fight, but I did pick Ray. I did think Ray was going to win. So, cool. Another one on the board. And then finally, the very first fight of the night, Ricky Simón, Vinicius Oliveira. This one I took Simón by a late second, third round knockout. I thought he was going to be able to hang with Vinicius in the striking just enough that he was going to be able to implement his grappling. And from there, I thought he was going to have a huge advantage and just kind of wear him down with control, tire him out a little bit, because I thought Oliveira would be coming out the gates fast and aggressive, trying to look for a finish, possibly gas out between that and the wrestling. And by the third round, second round, be worn down enough for Ricky to kind of hit him with one of those oaf shots that Ricky gets sometimes. But it wasn't like that at all. Vinicius shut down his shut down his grappling completely with, just great takedown defense. Even if he did get taken down, he got right back up. And just really awesome striking game from Vinicius Oliveira. Lots of Bobby Green influence, it would seem, in his style, hands down. Lots of head movement, pretty aggressive, in your face, good power shots. Styled on him a bit at the end of the round 3 there with, I believe that they call it like a rimbomba kick or roba kick, something like that. It's a soccer term I'm not familiar with, but it was like a behind the back, like leg kick. Didn't do much damage, but it was entertaining to see, and to do little things like that, he had a very, very entertaining style. If he can, if his takedown defense and grappling defense is really that good, then I really think he can go I think he has some legs to go in this division. Probably not top 5. I feel like maybe bottom 10 or, top 15 area is maybe where he caps out at. But I would be more than happy to be wrong about that. A guy with this kind of style, I would love to see shoot up to the top of the division. And it's really all I have to say. Seems like we've been overrating Ricky Simón a bit. I know I have for sure. Based off that performance and the loss to Mario Bautista and the loss to Song Yadong before this, Ricky's on a bad spiral right now. And I feel like the only option left is to give him somebody else on the level of Vinicius Oliveira. And if he loses that, maybe cut him. As sad as it is to say, Ricky's a cool guy, but he's not cutting it anymore, the bantamweight division. And, Vinicius Oliveira, you made a fan out of me today, dude. Hopefully you can continue to put on performances like that, because if that's how you fight consistently, I will tune in every time. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. What are your guys' thoughts on the card? What do you think about the Ige stepping in on the last minute like that? Where do you think Pereira sits on the GOAT list? Because I know a lot of people are talking about that after this fight. I think he goes pretty high, top 10, top 12 maybe. And that being said, thank you guys for watching again. Please like, comment, subscribe, and stay violent.